So, good evening. My name's Ron Austin. I'm an Associate Professor in Advanced Networking at Birmingham City University, and we're going to do a presentation tonight on what is ethical hacking, how to get into ethical hacking, and the important bit to state is it's the ethical side of hacking. This isn't the typical I'm going to be hiding in my bedroom with the hood up over my head and breaking the law. And we'll go over a little bit of the law as we go through the presentation tonight. So why would you want to get into ethical hacking? Well, first of all, it's on the right side of the law. Ethical hacking, penetration testing, security auditing, cyber and compliance are all growing areas of information security and cyber security that we need. And obviously, in the world that we live in today with COVID and people working from home, this is becoming a growing area of concern. So we need to make sure that the networks that people are using at home or at work are secure, that they've been tested, and we understand the risk and how to mitigate against that risk that people are facing. So we're going to start off by having a couple of discussions around some areas and some attacks that are quite relevant with the issues that we face with COVID today. Obviously, we're all at home, we're all working away, and we're on our home wireless network. And as you can see from the slide, we use wireless at home, in normal times for online gaming, social media, web, online shopping, and actually quite a lot of the time now from working from home. So we need to make sure that the wireless networks that we use have been protected and we understand the risks. So if we're in a production environment, if we're in the office, the wireless network might have two-factor auth. We might have a username and password where you would log in and go to AD that the company has set up and maintaining that security. But at home, you've got your wireless router. It's probably from one of the major suppliers like BT or Virgin Media, and you've got a password that's on the bottom of the router that you type in, and it's a short password. And we're going to have a look at some of the issues around wireless security and how people can attack it, and actually how they are attacking it, and then what laws they are breaking if they are attacking it. So everything that we do as ethical hackers, and it's really important to state this, is we have permission of the owner of the network. The demonstration tonight will give you an idea of how easy it is to a degree to attack a network, but please don't. You would be breaking the Computer Misuse Act, data protection, actually fraud, theft of service, Telecommunications Act, and we'll go through some of those in more detail as we go through the demonstration tonight. So as we've seen, we're at home, we're working, we're playing games. Wireless has become really important part of our daily lives. And if we take away wireless, I think the whole world will stop for most people. I know I couldn't do my job without being connected to the network and being able to present to you guys tonight and to my students at work. So we teach wireless networking in the third year and the second year on the courses. We show you how to build and set up the wireless course, and this is on the Computer Nets and Security at undergrad. We have wireless in the postgrad in ethical hacking, advanced ethical hacking as a module as well. So we get to touch and build and then break and test a wireless network in a lot of different modules, so building up your skill set. We need wireless networks, as we said, from home, because we're all working from home nowadays. But in a business environment, people want to be able to move around the campus, move around the office, have meetings, do presentations, and that collaborative work. We want that mobility nowadays. We don't want to be tied into a desk. We want to be able to move and check our email and just have that interaction. And wireless allows that within the network. So the following demonstration, as I said, is taught to our second years and third years wireless modules. We're going to have a look at a predominant wireless security. So wireless started off with a security mechanism called WEP, the Wired Equivalence Protocol. That was based on a mathematical function called RC4, the Riverset cipher number 4, for sharing the password. And when we get into the detail, and I'll be doing a little demonstration in a few minutes, the problem with WEP and RC4 was we were broadcasting through the beacon part of the password. So it was just a case of the attacker sitting and having a little bit of patience and listening to those beacons, running some maths on those beacons and breaking the law. We then moved into WPA, WPA2, which is a more secure algorithm, but it is subject to what's known as a dictionary brute force attack. So this goes back to the problem with WPA and WPA2 and that password that we've all got on our wireless access points at home. If you're from a provider like BT, like Cable and Wireless, like Virgin Media, any of the others, if you've just plugged in the wireless router, looked at the password that's on the back of the router and typed that in, it's upper and lower case, it's 6 or 7 characters long, maybe 8 if you're lucky, but those have been leaked. They're well-known formulas that the attacker can use to break into your wireless network. If we are attacking a wireless network, as I've said, we are breaking the law. At this point, I would normally say to my students, I have been to prison. Prison is not very nice. I've got to now say, before anybody worries, I was a visitor. I wasn't incarcerated. But if we are attacking a network and we don't have permission, you would be breaking the Computer Misuse Act, Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3, the Data Protection Act. Because we're taking data and using it maliciously. Generally, if we're breaking into networks, you're breaking the Telecommunications Act because it's theft of service. And fraud, it's an interesting one. You're stealing a service and therefore that would fall under the Fraud Act. And again, you would be prosecuted under those. So all in all, that can be up to 7 years in prison, which is a long time. And again, as a visitor, I have been into prison to do some work with the prison service. And prison cells are very small and I would not recommend it to anybody. So please, again, don't use what we're discussing tonight maliciously. Just use it as a way of understanding the weaknesses. And if you want to get into ethical hacking, penetration testing, security audits, this is one of the assessments that you may end up doing. So we need to have a little bit of a discussion around the type of network and what the attacker can do. So from the diagram, hopefully you can see the home network. We've got our home laptops, we've got our PCs, we might have a wired connection into our access point, and that's from our provider. Now, wireless is great, but it doesn't stop at our doorways. It leaks out into our gardens and down the street. And if you're at home and you're searching for your wireless network at home, you may occasionally see your neighbours or even their neighbours' wireless network. And if you know the password, or you can brute force their password, you could gain access. And again, breaking the law, but this is just a demonstration. Now, the attacker can sit outside your network and listen to your wireless network. Now, one of the things that we need to be aware of is wireless will propagate quite a long way. With, I was going to say some sophisticated equipment. Actually, it's not that sophisticated. We can get a normal wireless antenna, a tube of Pringles, We eat the Pringles because they're nice, and then we take that tube of Pringles and we put the wireless antenna in that tube of Pringles, and we get what's known as a cantenna, and that cantenna can go about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile of sight. So we're not actually sitting completely outside of your premises. We can be a good distance away, and you wouldn't know, or potentially you wouldn't know, if somebody is attacking your network. The only indication you may have is your wireless for a while as we're attacking the network. If we're doing the brute force attack, might be a little bit flaky for a bit, but you're just going to put that down to, oh, the wireless is being a bit bad, or you're going to blame your service provider and not think very much of it. So we've got our network set up and the attacker is sitting outside and being malicious, and we want to attack this WPA standard network from outside. So at this point, I'm just going to change screens. I'm just going to go to my video, and I'm going to play that video. So what we've got here is my attacking system, and this is a Linux system called Backtrack. Backtrack has moved on. It's now called Kali Linux, and if you want to get into ethical hacking, having strong Linux skills is really important. So I've set up my Backtrack, my Linux box, and as you can see on the screen, hopefully, I've got a WLAN2, which is my wireless interface, and I've got a monitor 0. So this is my monitor point where I'm going to capture traffic. So the first part of the attack isn't technically overly illegal because I'm just looking for a wireless network. Now I could do that on a Windows machine, I can do it on a Linux machine. I am just trying to find a wireless network that I'm interested in. If I was a legitimate user, that would be one that I have a username and password for and would connect with that username and password. Here with WList, I'm doing that scan, I'm finding wireless networks, and this takes a moment, and you may be asking yourself, well, why am I doing it through a command line rather than a GUI? The command line gives me far more information that I need to perform the attack. So as you can see, we found a number of wireless networks, and the first network that I've found is a wireless network called Widget Warehouse. Now this is a test network that I've set up. I have permission to attack this network, and I'm going to look for some information, and the first bit of information that I need is something called a MAC address. So this is a layer 2 address, and I need to know the channel that the wireless network is on. And as you can see there, it's a standard wireless network. I've got the data rates, and I'm using WPA version 2 with standard security. So this isn't weakened in any way, shape or form. It's a normal network. And just to prove that to you, this video is taken from my home network. So I'm giving you real information. My home network is called Austin 65. My name is Ron Austin, and my home network is called 65, and I use exactly the same security at home. So I'm just going to clear the screen, and at this point I need to get that really important information, which is the MAC address, because what we're doing is we're attacking the AP. So this is the wireless router in your house. So the first thing that I need to do is capture the login from a legitimate user coming onto the wireless network, because that will give me 4 bits of information that I need to brute force, to do this dictionary brute force attack. So what you can see here is I'm using a command called aerodump, which is to capture the traffic, to the SSID, which is the MAC address of the wireless router, or the AP, the access point, on channel 1, and I'm going to write that information out to a file called aircrack. So I'm now monitoring the traffic going across the airwaves to that access point. as you can see there. You can see the beacon count is counting up. So this is advertising that widget warehouse network. So every time that beacon clicks up a number, it's saying, hey, I'm widget warehouse. This is the beacon. This is the beacon. So it does that quite rapidly. There's not a lot of data going across this network. It will click in. So now I'm pretending to be a legitimate user logging in. So you may say, well, we've got to get a legitimate user to log in. We could, if this was a full pen test, send a deauthentication packet out to the network, and that would kick all of the users off. Once the users log back in, and if you've already logged on, you wouldn't need to put your username and password in, you can see that we've got the WPA handshake, and I've captured 600 beacons and 350 odd packets of data. So now we're going to have a little look at actually that data in more detail. So that file, that demo file that we've just stored, is just coming up. So we are going to have a look at what's known as a CAP file. So this is a packet capture file, and we're going to use a utility called Wireshark. And Wireshark is a packet analysis tool, but is commonly known as a packet sniffer. So I'm just going to open up Wireshark, and I'm going to have a look at that packet capture. So we've opened up the file, and what we can see is it's a Cisco access point, because you can see the Cisco there, and you can see the key. So 802.1x is the key. We're looking for the WPA nonce, and a nonce is a number that is used once, and that is the hash value, that very long key string there, is what we're going to try and break. So I need to do that against a word list. Now, this is a dictionary brute force attack. So the longer the dictionary, or the larger the dictionary, the more chance of success. So if my password is 8 characters long and it's in a common dictionary, so my favourite football team is Aston Villa. This year we are actually doing quite well, which is nice. And my password is Aston Villa. That's a well-known football team. It's a well-known password. If I'm using a password that's a little bit more unusual and it's not in the word list, then this brute force dictionary attack may not work. So you've got to think about your password. So if you're at home and you've used the password that's on your router, be aware that quite a lot of these passwords have been leaked out onto the internet. So it's worth doing. The other thing to note with this attack is it's purely based on the strength and the amount of CPU. The more CPUs and the better CPU, the quicker it will run through the key combination. Now, this video was recorded on a Core i5, and I'm using one processor. So we've caught the handshake. We want to now run that against the password list. So I'm going to use aircrackng to brute force the capture file against a password list, and we're basically trying keys. So is it Cisco? Is it Aston Villa? Is it whatever the password is in that password list? Now, that password list that I'm using is a small password list. It only has 250,000 passwords in the list. So that's quite a small password list. And what you're seeing now is my Core i5 running at 700 keys a second, so 700 passwords a second. And we're going to take a very quick guess of how long it takes to guess that password, if that password on the access point is in my password list. If it's not, this would just run through all of the passwords and time out, and we'd have to try a different password list with more passwords. And as I say, this is a small password list with 250,000 passwords. And as you can see, because that password was in that password list, it's taken around 5 minutes and 146,000 passwords before it found the password of Widget Warehouse. Now you might be saying, but you would never have a password of Widget Warehouse for a network of Widget Warehouse. I can honestly say I have worked with companies where their company name is their password, and it happens more often than not because everybody goes, oh, I'm working for company X. Oh, what's the password, guys? It's the company name. So now I can log in as a legitimate user onto that wireless network using that password. And once I've got the legitimate password, all of the traffic going across that network, I've got the key for. So therefore, I can now sit and listen on that network to all of the traffic and start to get data about that network. So that's what emails you are sending, what websites you are browsing to. Everything and anything I can now capture. And as we've seen, we can put that into Wireshark and we can then sit and look at that network traffic. Really easy to do. But again, if we do that without following the rules, we would be breaking quite a lot of the laws. So I'm just going to go back to my slide pack, which is there, that one. There we go. So that was the wireless demonstration. And as you can see, that was around 5-10 minutes with a password that was in the password list. The downside to this attack is if it's not in the password list, we would have to have a bigger password list. But they are available online. Again, you need to be very careful where you look, because if you're going to go and look online for password lists, they usually come with malicious software built in, because they are looking for people to try and download these lists. So you do need to be careful where you look, and I would highly recommend having a look at the ones that come with Kali or Backtrack, just to test it, and then building your own list. Don't pull something off the internet where you don't know where it's come from. It's usually quite dangerous. But WPA, WPA2 is really prevalent at home. It's the standard. Wireless WPA3 is new. It's starting to come out, but it's only on the very high-end routers that are out at the moment, and you're going to be paying £400 or £500 for the new WPA Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E routers. So just again, to be careful with what you're purchasing. So that was the first little attack that we've discussed. And again, you would be breaking the Computer Misuse Act, Data Protection Act, Telecommunications Act, and fraud, because it would be theft of service if you were to go and try this on your neighbour's Wi-Fi. So again, ladies and gentlemen, please don't do this without permission. We'll move on and we'll have another look at another attack. So this is not attacking the infrastructure. This is attacking an application and some services. So this will run on Windows 8, Windows 10, Mac OS, and it's actually a vulnerability around Java. Now, Java is fortunately starting to go away. It will actually become end of life and unsupported at Christmas this year. If anybody's ever used a Java application, Java badges its applications as being used by 3 billion people worldwide. And Java, for a very long time, was very proud of using that because it's everywhere. Java was embedded in pretty much every application. The problem with being that popular is it gives the attacker a very, very large web or attack service, I should say, to try and gain access. So it was very popular to attack Java rather than Windows or Mac. And anybody that's out there that's got a Mac, and I'm a Mac user as well, that think Macs aren't vulnerable, they are. And this just goes to show that you can gain access to a Mac just the same way as you could with a Windows. So again, making sure that you're updated, making sure that you've got the latest software, and making sure you've got a firewall set is all really important. So moving on, this is a remote attack. So I'm the home user, and there's an attacker outside that's going to try and get some access, and we're going to target the end user by a click jacking. So I'm going to try and con you into, or seduce you into, clicking a link. So at this point, it's what would make people click a link. So this is a little bit of social engineering going on here. How can I get you to click a link? It could be I'm offering something for free. So I could be saying it's free food, it's free internet, you've won a prize, it's a free trip abroad. Not that we can travel so much nowadays, but you get hopefully the idea that I'm trying to entice you into clicking the link. The other way of doing it is you've got to click the link because something's gone wrong. You need to update your password. You need to respond to this email because it's really important, or I've sent you a file. It's some way of just gaining you into, or gaming you into, clicking that link. So again, I'm just going to go and talk through another little video. So we're going to play that one. So this time I'm on a Windows machine. I'm just going to go into command prompt, and I'm going to look at my IP address. And as you can see, I'm on the 192.168.1.102. So this is a home address, and the 192.168 is an RFC 1918 address. So it's a private address. I'm going to bring in another Linux machine. So this is Kali Linux. Now this is an update to Backtrack. And again, I'm going to have a look at my IP address. And I'm on the 192.168.1.105. So technically, for this demonstration, I'm on the same network. But it wouldn't really matter if I was on a different network, because we're targeting Java, and I'm going to get you to click a link. So within Kali, there's something called the Metasploit framework. This is a toolbox for different attacks. So this is vulnerabilities that have been found in Windows, Linux, applications like Microsoft and Java, and will work generally. When you log in, we can search for the type of attack that we want to do. And in this case, we're looking for Java vulnerabilities. And it will take a little bit of time just to search for that Java vulnerability. When we logged in, you will notice that there was 1,881 exploits available in the Metasploit framework, and that's updated every 6 months generally. It's always a little bit behind because this is for learning and teaching. If you wanted the paid version, there's something called Nessus. So we've found the exploit, and what we're going to actually do now is build a little website. It's a non-functional website just for this demonstration, but if I was being more malicious, I could set up a functional website that would look like something that you would click. So it could be that free food, it could be a free holiday, it could be you need to log in to this website and update some important information. And as an attacker, crafting that is something that I may spend some time on. But just for this demonstration, we're going to concentrate on setting up a website that's just going to capture when the victim clicks the link. So at the moment, I've set up my attacking machine. I've set up my TCP ports, so my service port of 1234 and my other port is 4321, so we can see those. I'm going to set the path to where this is going to run, and that's going to run in root on my Kali machine. I'm going to now set the payload, and this is where it gets interesting, as a Windows. No, I don't want to display everything. I need to be more specific. Reverse TCP connection, and this is important. What I'm actually doing here is getting the victim to send a connection from you as the victim to me. So your firewall at home or on the network is going to say that's an outbound connection and therefore that's okay. I'm not attacking you, you're connecting to me. So it will go straight through your firewall. So I've got you to click the link. Now, if it was a full web page, I would have a web page there and you would go, oh, okay, I've clicked the link. I'm going to run this JavaScript. And in the background on the Kali machine, you can see I've got a session that's now running because as the victim, you've clicked that link. Now that link from you to me going through your firewall is encrypted. So even if you were looking at that traffic, it would be encrypted in an encryption standard called AES, Advanced Encryption Standard. So I can now log on as the attacker onto your Windows machine. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it gets a little bit creepy. Because I am now remoted onto your machine, I can access everything on your machine. So as you can see, I've just changed directory, or I'm about to change directory into your C drive. And I can start looking at all of your files on your C drive. So if you've got any passwords that are stored in plain text, any really important documents that aren't encrypted, I can just go around and start browsing. I did say it was going to get a little bit creepy. If you've got a webcam, I can go into your webcam and I can turn on your webcam. I can turn on your microphone. I can turn on your speakers. Even if you go, oh, I don't like the look of this website, I'm going to back out, oh, I didn't touch anything, I've still got access because the Java application that I am using is still running. Now, at this stage in the attack, the only way to stop me would be to switch the machine off. If I was being malicious, because I've got access, what I would do is upload some more malicious code and actually set your machine up as what's known as a botnet. So even when you switch your machine back on, it would dial back into me, your connection would come back up, and I could, again, look at all of your files, look at your camera, listen to your music, play music to you, anything I wanted. What most attackers do is actually use your machine to then start sending out spam. In this case, I found a file. I'm going to have a look. I've been really bad with my security, and you can see I've stored some passwords and called the file passwords, passwords.txt. So I'm going to have a look at that file. It's not more, it's cat. I need to do a cat on that file, not a more. So I'm just going to cat that file out and have a look at those passwords. And as you'll see now, my BCU password, my bank account PIN, and my bank account, fortunately those are not real, are displayed on the screen. So again, you can see very quickly the issues of having passwords stored and not secured on your network. And again, that was a very quick, very trivial almost attack that's been perpetrated right across the world most days. So again, making sure that your Windows machine or your Mac is updated with the latest version of software, making sure your firewall is on, and more importantly, making sure that when somebody sends you a link, that you know where it's come from. Do you trust the sender? Have you seen that link before? Have you looked at where that link is coming from? And just having a little pause and a little reflection on the type of attacks that may have happened. So hopefully it's given you an insight into ethical hacking. We've discussed some of the approaches. Again, just to go over the laws, if you're interested in the courses, we do computer nets and security, data nets and security at masters, cyber security at both undergrad and masters, and forensic computing. And that will give you a good lead into ethical hacking, penetration testing, security auditing. The last slide is something that the university can offer, which is an introduction to Python course. We have shortened the URL just to make it easier for you to note down, and I'm going to leave that on the screen just for the moment. So if you want to make a note, Python is becoming really important for ethical hacking, network management, network automation, as a scripting tool to build networks, to automate networks, and to assess networks from a security point of view. So if you're interested in the courses, please let us know. Come to our open days. Have a look at the free Python course. And just in case anybody's online and you want to review this, is gratefully received. It was fairly quick because obviously I'm just talking to you. If you'd like more interaction, please let us know. And hopefully you found that interesting, and I'd like to thank you for watching. So at this point, I'm going to say thank you again one last time, and I'm going to end the call now. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.